Welcome back to the Humble Marksman channel, the only gun channel on the internet dripping with that BDE. That's right, Big Dad Energy. What do you call a Frenchman wearing sandals? Philippe Flop. I'm David, and this is the American Precision Firearms Strike Speed with a red dot mounted on the slide. So I remember about 10 years ago being super firm in the low bore axis is life camp and thought that low bore axis guns were the way. And the Strike 1 was announced, and it had the lowest bore axis in the game. It was a striker gun. It was everything that I wanted. And I got to shoot one once. I was like, this is amazing. But it was a different time, and they were difficult to find, and I, didn't have having several guns kind of money at the time. So, fast forward to now, and American Precision Firearms is the new importer of the Strike 1. They reached out to me saying, hey, would you be interested in doing a video on these guns? Like, yeah, I remember those guns. They're awesome. Let's talk when you guys have a red dot option, because I generally don't like to review iron sight guns. They said, well, let's see if we can do something for you. So they took the red dot slide off of one of their guns and put it on the Strike frame for me. So YouTube, that's how it came from the manufacturer. This is what it came as. So it is a Franken gun, but it is really cool, and I want to tell you a little bit about it. So starting with kind of the facts, the strike speed is going to be about 1150 right now in the third quarter of 2023, which puts it in the same ballpark as like the Sig Sauer Legion. There's a couple other different polymer guns that are in there. The Shadow Systems DR920L lives up there. There's a few guns that are kind of up there in that space. So that's kind of what they're competing against. Now, one thing that's really cool about this is not a Browning tilt lock style action. This is a Bergman style action, which what that means is the barrel doesn't tilt up. It stays fixed in place, but as you move the slide to the rear, you can kind of see that the barrel kind of slides back and forth because the gun shoots really, really flat like you'd imagine. And that contributes to kind of why that is. So when a gun has low bore axis, what that means is the recoil is kind of more linear, where the slide will move to the rear, and then kind of when it bottoms out, your whole wrist will kind of jump up, but it'll kind of come down as a unit, versus kind of a gun with a lot of rotation will make you kind of want to do this, like the high bore axis guns. So since this is a super low bore axis gun, it stays pretty flat. And if you're able to control the jump, then it's super fast shooting. So the speed is a very good name. So how low bore axis is it, and does it really matter? I can't really answer the does it really matter thing, but I can tell you what Wikipedia says. The bore axis, which is going to be kind of the distance to the center of the bore from sort of the grip tang, is basically what that is about 12 millimeters. That doesn't mean a lot to us Americans, because we go by like Budweiser's per Screaming Eagle, but 12 millimeters is a little bit bigger than a 9mm cartridge across, but a Glock is going to be 20 millimeters in bore axis. Okay, since that doesn't make sense to put it in American and not metric, that's going to be about nearly half an inch to just over 3/4 of an inch is kind of the difference between this and the Glock bore axis. What's really amusing is that the bore axis on a Beretta 92 is 34 millimeters, which is 1.34 inches in American. So the recoil impulse is different. It is definitely more of a linear shove as discussed. So let's talk about how we're fighting that. So the grip profile, it is a little bit blocky. It's not like Glock blocky, but it's in kind of that ballpark. The front strap has these kind of rigid lines on it that does an okay job of helping you find a home and purchase when you put a good squeeze on it. Back strap has those same lines kind of up at the top and sort of vertical lines that don't really do much toward the bottom. The side has this kind of array of these weird like differing size pebbles, and there's kind of a texturized finish almost to the gun. It's not as slick as like straight plastic, but it could still benefit from more texture. The trigger guard is pretty short, kind of top to bottom. Your finger will get in there no problem, but let's look at this trigger, guys. The trigger is absolutely bonkers. So you got a fair amount of take up. It's right at about 90 degrees. Pull through. There's a tiny bit of over travel and a very, very short reset. The trigger is actually pretty good. When I was zeroing this optic, when I put it on there, I used my awesome system for zeroing dots, which means I saw something I could see on the berm, and I would just shoot at it from the back of the bay until I got it really close to where that thing is. Then I put it on paper. So putting it on paper for the first time with the first 3 shots on a target, I basically shot a cloverleaf. This is my first 3-shot group with the Arsenal Strike 1 at not quite 15 yards, it's 14 paces to the target. Just trying to get the zero confirmed. That is pretty good. So as always, when getting an exotic gun, there's kind of the question of like, how do you get magazines? How do you get holsters? Well, the good news is that American Precision Firearms has done their homework and they have stocked up kind of magazines. So those are generally available through their website. Holsters, I found 2 people making holsters and I ordered one from both, just seeing who would get there first. Here they are. This is a Red Hill Tactical in the Ferrari red and yellow. Since it's an Italian gun, it kind of made sense to get the Ferrari holster for it. Now, because generally speaking, Strike ones don't have optics, I had to trim the holster a little bit to get it to fit, but it has a really good fit right there. The other holster that I found for it is the Black Rhino concealment, and this is more of a like true concealment holster. There is a bit of a hitch as you go to holster the gun, but now it's absolutely locked in. It's not going anywhere. So it has very strong retention. So depending on whether you want retention or not, you've got the Black Rhino or you have the Red Hill Tactical. The other aftermarket stuff is handled by Tony Systems, T-O-N-I Systems. So they're doing like base pads, they're doing dovetail optic mount sights. And honestly guys, rather than waiting on a native optic solution, I mean, this is basically just a plate that's been sunk down slightly into the top of the slide. It's not a whole lot different from just getting one of the Tony Systems dovetail mounts and just kind of going nuts with that. But Tony Systems is making some of the stuff. You could definitely run this in IDPA with their base pads. The 140mm magazines are going to be something that need to get solved for with time to make it a viable carry optics type gun. If you're an iron sights guy, it's got a fiber front. It's actually a really good set of iron sights that come on the pistol. So the gun out of the box is fantastic as far as an iron sight format's concerned. So that is the American Precision Firearms Strike Speed. It's a cool gun. I mean, I liked this gun 10 years ago. I like this gun now. I think it's, really cool. The different kind of action makes it interesting. It's a fun gun to shoot. It's very accurate and it's super fast shooting. So, and if you're looking for cool stuff from Optics Planet, you can save 7% with code HUMM at checkout. So thank you to Optics Planet. As always, I appreciate you guys and I'll catch you on the next one.